in the comments. Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Lakers, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. The Milwaukee Bucks are trying to rebuild their team with Giannis Antetokounmpo at the center in free agency, but on Monday they were dealt a blow when Brook Lopez was poached by the Clippers. Free agent center Lopez has agreed to a 2-year, $18 million deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, per Shams Charania. The 37-year-old Bucks starter, a key piece in Milwaukee's 2021 championship run, chose Los Angeles over other suitors, notably the Lakers, who had expressed interest in him. Lopez's decision highlights the Clippers' effective use of their full $14.1 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception. They had room to land him and effectively block the Lakers alongside Lopez's former team. Charania notes the Bucks, having re-signed Bobby Portis, made Lopez expendable, leaving him to return home to California, where he'll serve as backup to Ivica Zubac. During his 7 seasons in Milwaukee, Lopez averaged 13 points, 5.2 rebounds, 1.3 assists, and 2.1 blocks in the regular season, earning recognition as a 2-time All-Defensive Team member and finishing runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year voting in 2023. His veteran presence and three-point shooting stretched lineups on both ends of the floor. For the Bucks, losing Lopez, a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year and a steady veteran, marks the end of another chapter in their post-championship transition. With Giannis still anchoring the roster, Milwaukee is pivoting toward younger talent. Meanwhile, the Clippers upgrade their front court depth, and the Lakers get left empty-handed in their chase. The latter also missed out on Clint Capella, who has agreed to a deal with the Houston Rockets. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
In a second, that hurts them. I think Houston's in great shape and could see a Kevin Durant return to OKC in the conference finals, which would be awfully fun.
Wendy, what do you make of Houston's moves?
Yeah, I think obviously Houston is upgraded because they got Durant and now Finney-Smith with some veterans. But what makes Houston so interesting is that they still have more that they can do. They're very upwardly mobile, whether it's their individual players or young players getting better, or if it's another major trade that comes up over the next 6 months between now and February. They have not exhausted their supply of assets. This team can still improve while also being a much better team on opening night.
Exciting times in Houston as everybody out west is chasing the champs. Tim, who did you have as your biggest winners last night?
Well, Bobby took the West, Graz, so I'll take the East. I'll go with the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta getting Nickeil Alexander-Walker, as I mentioned before, in free agency yesterday. You see him right here. Guy who can play on and off the ball, terrific defender, also a near 40% three-point shooter, a perfect fit next to Trae Young for Atlanta. They go get Kristaps Porzingis last week. They made a tremendous draft night trade to get potentially a top 5, if not the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft from the New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans who go spend $16 million over 2 years on Kevon Looney yesterday. That is only going to help Atlanta in their quest to get a very high pick next year. The Hawks have gotten a bunch of guys who want to be there, who have shooting, perimeter defense. This is a team I think is now top 4 in the East, better than the Celtics who we see in these highlights, better than the Milwaukee Bucks. And Atlanta is on the rise in the East under new head of basketball operations, Ansi Sala, and Coach Quinn Snyder.
Tell you who else is taking notice of the Hawks move. It's the betting markets. Yesterday, ESPN Bet had the Hawks with odds to win the title at 100-1 and to win the East at 25-1. Today, those odds are down to 25-1 to win the whole thing and 9-1 to win the East. Wendy, what do you think of what Atlanta's been doing?
Yeah, obviously they've done a really good job over the last few weeks. I should point out they did lose Karis LeVert yesterday, a player that they traded for last season and liked. He went to Detroit. They also have to handle the contract extensions of a couple of their key players, Trae Young being one of them, and Dyson Daniels, who was a transformational defensive player they acquired last year. Having said that, they have put themselves in a position where they're still below the luxury tax and still have some maneuvering they could do with this roster. Jalen Johnson is a player that, unless you're a Hawks fan, you probably don't know about, but America is going to start learning who Jalen Johnson is. He's their best young player who's going to mix with these role players and potentially be a real dynamic force in the East.
By the way, Graz, you look at that list right there, Cleveland, New York, and Orlando, and then Atlanta. No Boston. Very weird seeing no Celtics. It
is very weird. Life comes at you fast. Bobby, what do you think of how things set up in the East right now?
Well, I mean, certainly I think you have to look at where New York is because they have, they brought in, they're going to sign Jordan Clarkson, but they still have the top 7, there's top 7 players under contract. Of course, Houston was the best team last year, and we'll see where that Darius Garland injury is right now. But just based on where New York is, as far as sometimes continuity is not bad. We make a lot to do about what teams do in the offseason, but it is okay to bring back your starting 5, what New York has done.
Kind of need a coach, though.
I was going to say, there'd be a little more continuity if they had held on
Slightly.
To that. Wendy, it's winners and losers. We got to hit you on who you think your biggest losers are so far in free agency.
Well, with the asterisks, it's only been one day. I have to say the Lakers did not get better yesterday. They lost Dorian Finney-Smith, as we talked about earlier, and they replaced him with Jake LaRavia. Jake LaRavia is an interesting young player, but he is a backup. Dorian Finney-Smith is a starter-level wing. Jake LaRavia is a backup-level wing. And then they were unable to get a center, which was their number one priority. Since they traded Anthony Davis, this team has needed a center. They have known since February they needed a center, and they did not get one on the first day of free agency, and several came off the board, including Brook Lopez. Now, I will be very interesting to hear about how interested the Lakers were in Brook Lopez, because he took a one-year guaranteed contract to be a guaranteed backup with the Clippers here in Los Angeles when the Lakers had a starting job open for him. And I'm not sure why the Lakers didn't prioritize him. They're not trying to sign a center to be the guy in their franchise center for the next 7 years, but they need a guy to start on opening night. And right now they have no centers on the roster, and they've used a significant chunk of their available money again to sign LaRavia, when they could have re-signed Dorian Finney-Smith and still had all of that other exception money to them. So they've got some work to do over this next 2 to 3 days to shore up their team.
He says everybody knew they needed a center. I don't even cover this league, and I knew they needed a center because I've been listening to you guys. I get the alert from Shams, Jake LaRavia. I click on it. Oh, he must be a center. No, he's not. So what does that mean about the Lakers? They couldn't get one last night.
It means they don't have a starting quality center, and they might not have one this season again. Like if you look, Bobby Marks sends out a list every night of the best free agents available during free agency. And I was looking at it this morning, and at each position, most of the good players, top-level, starter-level players are gone. The only guy that's even a starter-level player potentially at center is Deandre Ayton. He would not be a very exciting option if the Lakers go get him. He just got bought out by the Portland Trailblazers, former number 1 overall pick. I'm also not convinced he's going to sign with the Lakers. So if he isn't there, all of a sudden you're looking at the Lakers seeing all these options go off the board as a potential starter. They could maybe make a trade for one, but again, we spent yesterday talking about all the options the Lakers have to get better to try to keep up with these teams in the West. We've seen Houston get better. Oklahoma City is obviously still way ahead of the pack, and it's hard to see how they're going to get better. And again, it is kind of amazing that ever since they got Luka Doncic, we talked about him getting a center. We're now almost 6 months later. They still don't have one.
I'll tell you what else we spent a lot of yesterday talking about was this Rich Paul's statement following LeBron opting into his contract, Bobby, for next year, talking about how he wants to pursue championships and hoping the Lakers can build something that can help him do that. If they have struck out so far in free agency for the most part, they still don't have a center. What does that tell us about the future of LeBron in Los Angeles?
Well, I mean, it doesn't look great when your second best player, your first best player, is putting immense pressure on you to try to go out and add pieces to the offseason here, especially for a player in the last year of his contract. Remember, there's no player option next year. This is an expiring contract for LeBron James here. I do think it will be interesting on day 2 if DeAndre Ayton is that guy. Does that move the needle at all? I think we also have to pay attention to the trade market here with the Lakers. When they were aggressive last February, them being aggressive again as far as what they have to offer here. But the LeBron James situation is certainly something to follow based on where he is in his contract, where this Lakers team potentially could be, and where this Lakers team stacks up among other teams in the Western Conference.
It's interesting, Wendy, because, we've talked about how this is going to be building around Luka for the future now, and everything's focused on that. But they're still sitting there with a $53 million LeBron James on their roster, on their payroll this year. So does this start to look like it's the beginning of the end for LeBron in L.A.?
It does appear that that's the case, and I don't think you want to be over-dramatic about it. He's 40 years old. It's the beginning of the end, whatever team he was going to be on. But I would say that LeBron clearly came to a crossroads after the Lakers traded for Luka Doncic. They started to move in a different direction very clearly and very understandably. So he was at a crossroads. Unfortunately, he has made his decision which road to go down, because on Sunday he picked up his player option. And so what it looks like here is he wants to be able to make sure he has the $53 million and also consider himself still at the crossroads. That's just actually not reality. Because of the challenges of trading for a $53 million player and because of the challenges of what the Lakers need to do with their roster today and into the future, him switching teams at this point is very prickly and very challenging. What the Lakers want is LeBron excited to play for them come October. But he has taken away a lot of his options by picking up that option. So we can watch how this plays out, but I don't see how the Lakers aren't focused on getting a center and building up their team and anxious about having LeBron and Luka as their two cornerstones for the 2025-26 season.
25-26 season. Like LeBron's going to be on this team in all likelihood, right? Like this is, we'd say beginning of the end, we're talking about a year from now, right?
Yeah, a year from now, because again, to Brian's point, LeBron James opted into this $52.6 million contract, right? This is a situation where if he wanted to be a free agent, if he wanted to test the market, if he wanted to see if he wanted to go somewhere else, he had the opportunity to do that on Sunday. He chose not to do that. He chose to get the money. And now we're in a situation where not only does he have this giant contract, not only is it hard to trade guys with big deals like that in the new NBA, he's also got a no-trade clause, which means that he has to approve any trade, and that is an extremely difficult thing to make work. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it's very hard to see any scenario than LeBron James being on the Lakers. And by the way, that's the best scenario for the Lakers, not only because they have LeBron James on their team, but because they currently have a completely clean cap sheet for the 26 offseason, and then go to Luka Doncic and say, hey, what do you want to do? How do you want to build out this team? And to Brian's point, this is now Luka Doncic's franchise, and that's the direction the Lakers have to look going forward.
A game of NBA fact or fiction? Whether you do or not, we're gonna. The Bucks have done enough to convince Giannis to stay. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fact, Dan. I look at Bobby Portis, Taurean Prince, Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr. The band is back for another year. There's still another move out there. Can they go out and get a center to fill that void? But I do look at what they've been able to do and kind of bring this group together as fact that keeps Giannis happy.
All right, if I said the Lakers have had the worst offseason of anyone in the NBA, fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fiction. I'm going to give the Lakers a pass right now because I know there's still work to do. We're only one day into the offseason here. I look at what New Orleans has been able to do, and I know they've been a punching bag here, but to move up 10 spots and then for center and then sign Kevon Looney to a 2-year, $16 million contract, I'm going to put them in that category.
All right, one more. The Dallas Mavericks have had the best offseason in the NBA. Is that fact or fiction?
I'm going to use a new word I don't think it even belongs, faction, right? We're going to go kind of hedge my bet there as far as where Dallas is. I think Houston for me, but I like what Dallas has done. Cooper Flagg, of course, D'Angelo Russell, getting him there. They are a threat in the Western Conference, but they got to get Kyrie Irving back healthy.
There's two possible answers to fact or fiction. It's fact or fiction.
Bobby Marks makes his own grade.
And you basically said fiction because you said it's actually Houston, but it's all right. Right? We'll let you go with faction. You're getting up
Dan,
super early.
I'm going on 4 hours sleep, Dan.
Exactly.
I'm going on 4 hours sleep.
He was on the 6 o'clock call like he's a machine right now. So we'll give Bobby a break. But when you look at what the Mavericks are up to, I mean, it feels like it's going a lot better for them than it's going for the team that they traded Luka Doncic to during the season. Wendy, are we at a point where it's time to ask, like, did the Mavs maybe win that trade?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the Lakers ended up winning 50 games. They obviously had a disappointing crash in the first round. Their outlook, they have 2 star players. Their outlook this year is significantly better than Dallas's. I do think what Dallas is trying to do, which is to try to build a deep team that's based on defense, is the path forward. I like, in theory, the way they're structured. And getting Cooper Flagg is transformational. I mean, Cooper Flagg potentially is a generational player. We don't know for sure, but everything points to that being the case. And, when they made the trade, Cooper Flagg was not in their thinking whatsoever. So the Mavericks are in a pretty good-looking position here over the next few years, but saying that that's a result of them winning the trade, I would not agree with that. The big thing for Dallas is getting Kyrie healthy. Their guard play is going to really depend on that. And by the way, we have come very far in recovery from ACL injuries. I have no doubt that he's going to come back and be a key piece for them. But they're going to start the season with D'Angelo Russell as their starting point guard. And, D'Angelo Russell's output has been, shaky. He's basically been a journeyman for a reason. So if I was a Mavericks fan, I would be very excited about Cooper Flagg. I would be very excited about the defense that my team was building, but I would not claim any sort of victory in losing Luka Doncic, and I don't think many Mavericks fans would.
I would say no Mavericks fans would. The NBA is about getting stars, and Luka Doncic is one of the 5 best players on the planet pretty easily, and he's not on the Mavericks anymore. And the idea that because they got extraordinarily lucky and got Cooper Flagg in the lottery, although Nico Harrison the general manager of the Mavericks seems to keep indicating that this is part of the grand plan, that I think you said the other day that the fans are starting to see the vision for what they're doing in Dallas. I guess the vision was to have a 1.8% chance
and win the lottery.
And win the lottery, and then you have Cooper Flagg on your team.
Pretty good.
But no, yes, the Mavericks have a decent amount of talent. We'll see what happens with Kyrie Irving. If he can come back healthy, they could be an interesting factor in the Western Conference, but they should still have Luka Doncic on the team.
We have D. Wood here because he's the voice of the Laker fan here on our program. When you look at this from the Lakers end, everything that's going on in Dallas, obviously they got lucky with the lottery. But, I mean, in terms of the Lakers, how do you feel like, I mean, are you disappointed in how things have shaken out since they made that deal?
I mean, listen, I'm not disappointed in trading for the top 5 players.
Would you like to send Luka Doncic back to Dallas?
Absolutely.
I didn't think so.
Absolutely not. Like, when I look at the Lakers, I think we've taken a step backwards. We've taken a step backwards. I look at the teams in the West that's gotten better. OKC is OKC, and they still got a bevy of assets that they can use to improve their team. The Houston Rockets have gotten better. I mean, the Dallas Mavericks has gotten better, through the Cooper drafting Cooper Flagg. The Los Angeles Clippers have gotten better, and here we are, the Los Angeles Lakers. We would be just lucky to get the number 3 seed that we got in this past postseason. So I think we're slipping back, and not only that, but it just feels, ominous to me that this is probably going to be LeBron's last year. With the timeline that the Lakers are on right now, I don't see the Lakers winning anything this year. I'm just not in a great place as a Lakers fan.
Yeah, it seems like we'll see what else happens the rest of the offseason, but it does feel, Windy, like their options are running out. You want to put a final word on this for us?
Well, I think what they're probably going to end up doing is overpaying in a trade here for a player to be their starting center. And, that's not the end of the world, depending on the parameters of it. And Luka Doncic is an elite player who was injured for most of last season. It was his worst of his last 5 seasons. If you're a Laker fan, you haven't even really seen the real Luka Doncic yet. LeBron is coming off of a second-team All-NBA season. He's still arguably a top 15 player in the league. Go find me a team out there with 2 top 15 players. The Lakers are not desperate whatsoever. They just had an ownership change that is going to potentially totally change the infrastructure in their organization. I am not going to sit here and have a bad feeling about the Lakers for 1 second. I will tell you they're not doing a great job of filling out their roster on July 1st, but let's see where they are on July 10th. But this pity party is ridiculous. I'm not going to waste any time with it.
Who's having a pity party?
All right.
Hey, Dan, I would
real quick, Bobby.
Dan,
Dan, I would say this. It's okay to say that the Lakers won the trade, but Dallas is in a better position right now. I think you can go that way.
Fair enough. So faction it is. The NBA free agency period.
His mindset at this exact point in time, looking at what's ahead.
Right now, LeBron James understands the Lakers are prioritizing the future in a lot of ways that really centers around Luka Doncic. And he knows they're going to go younger at different points. They are really prioritizing 2-year contracts right now. They want to have max salary space in 2027. But for his part, at this point in his
Okay, hold up. I got to stop right there. Look, the LeBron James understanding the Lakers are going to prioritize building around Luka. Fine. LeBron's a smart guy. That's absolutely what the Lakers are doing, and it's what they should be doing. It's building around Luka. Luka is 26. LeBron's going to be 41. Easy. It's a math problem, right? So no question, they should be building around Luka. But prioritizing 2-year contracts, see that I think is an issue. And it's not so much that having cap flexibility in 2027 is a bad thing, but we're talking about 2 years from now. You've got LeBron and you've got Luka right now. So if there are no good options available right now and a 2027 cap space plan just kind of falls in your lap and that just kind of is where things go, that's one thing. But if you are avoiding contracts that are longer than 2 years, specifically because they are longer than 2 years, you're going to handicap yourself and your own ability to build out a cohesive roster and therefore limit your opportunities to win right now over the next 2 years. Luka's not 20. He's not 19. He's 26. He's in his prime. Go win. Go do what you can to win right now. Now, that doesn't mean you want to go sign a bunch of guys who are over the hill and are not going to be around in a post-LeBron era. Yeah, you still want to focus on players that can fit Luka's timeline, and that's certainly easier said than done. but you are restricting your own ability to improve this team if you are hell-bent on that cap space for 2027, which brings us to the next point here, which is that we're not seeing players leave in free agency much. Now, there is value to salary cap space. There is flexibility that comes with that, particularly on the trade market. But even if there's value to that cap space, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to land the big fish. In today's NBA, it's very rare to see superstar level players actually change teams via free agency. I mean, who were the last ones to do it? Paul George, that's working out great for the 76ers, right? Jalen Brunson, okay, that's legit, right? That's a big one. But that's it. This isn't like when LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh all teamed up in Miami. We're not seeing player movement that way in today's NBA under the current collective bargaining agreement and the way the game all works. Players are signing extensions. So if we look at a list of free agents in 2026, if we look at a list of free agents in 2027, it's very limited in terms of how much predictive power it actually has because so many players are signing extensions on their deals anyway. Star level players, they're moving via trade. Now, that cap space could help you facilitate a trade, but still, it's a concerning plan with no guarantees if the team is limiting themselves in the present for a future that may or may not pay off 2 years from now. Now, the last piece to this, before I move on to what he's going to say next, which is really important here, is that when you're trying to forge an identity with the team, and that's been, I think, one of my chief complaints with the Lakers for the last few years, really since probably 2021, is it's been hard to figure out what the identity of the team is. What is the plan of the team? And it feels very reactive. It's very much shifting year in, year out. Well, when you're planning for 2027 and you're limiting the kinds of contracts that you can get to just 2-year deals, whether that's signing them or trading for them, that's going to also make it difficult to have a vision of exactly what the identity of your team is going to be and to execute that vision. A consequence can be that the identity of your team becomes we're waiting for 2027. And I don't think that's really what the message that the Lakers want to send to Luka Doncic, and certainly not to LeBron James as well. Speaking of LeBron, here's what Shams had to say here on him.
Career at his age, at 40 years old, going on 41, he wants to compete for a championship, wherever that may be, in Los Angeles, or there are conversations to be had at another point. The Lakers, their president, Rob Pelinka, they're being active. They're trying to figure out how to get a center right now in free agency, try to get some wing depth. LeBron James is very closely evaluating essentially how this goes with the Lakers and where he would want his career to be as he winds down, whether he has 1 year left, 2 years left, or 3 years left.
Okay, so LeBron very closely analyzing what the Lakers are doing. The Lakers know they need to get a center. They know they need to add more on the wings. They need to make changes to this roster. They need to make improvements to this roster. And LeBron James is currently evaluating that and what's happening here. So again, artificially restricting your options on the market to just players with 2-year deals, whether that be you sign them to them or you trade for them, is not ideal when you're trying to make a robust roster that is ready to compete right now. And let's not forget, the Lakers want Luka Doncic to sign a contract extension with them on August 2nd. That's when he becomes eligible to sign that. He's going to want to win as well. And that concern particularly holds true when the Lakers lost Dorian Finney-Smith to free agency to the Houston Rockets, a Western Conference opponent, who gave him a 4-year deal that the Lakers were probably unwilling to give. Now, I don't know if he would have actually signed the contract with the Lakers or not, but based on this 2027 philosophy that's being put out there right now, that would suggest that the Lakers would have been willing to give him a 4-year deal. They would have only given him 2. And not to mention the fact that Dorian Finney-Smith is very good friends with Luka Doncic. Losing players, losing guys that could help keep your superstar in town, certainly a dangerous game to play, but we'll see where things go from here for the Lakers. Now, one thing they did do was they landed Jake LaRavia, the free agent wing. I like Jake LaRavia a lot. I like his game. Is he a fill-in for Dorian Finney-Smith? Certainly not on the defensive end of the floor. But there are a lot of things that Jake LaRavia can bring. A fairly versatile wing player. I particularly like the work that he can do on the offensive glass. Does really well there. You can see he rates out very strongly, has for his whole career as an offensive rebounder. Defensive rebounding sometimes can need some work. Did well with Memphis there. He's talked about on the Front Office Show podcast with myself and Keith Smith, talked about how much he enjoyed playing in Memphis's system before he got traded to the Sacramento Kings. Memphis has since admitted that they messed up, that they messed up in not picking up the team option on Jake LaRavia's rookie deal. And that's one of the other things that I like here. He got a 2-year, $12 million deal with the Lakers, so roughly $6 million per year. And what I like is that Jake LaRavia is just 23 years old. He's actually younger than Dalton Connect. So this is a guy that still has plenty of growing to do, plenty of upside as an NBA player. I also like about him that he's got the ability to shoot the ball, particularly as a catch and shoot player. 43% as a catch and shoot guy from three, and that would be the situation that he will be in most frequently for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, there are certainly some defensive concerns with him. I think he is a average defensive player. I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be, but is he Dorian Finney-Smith? No, certainly not. He is not going to replace Dorian Finney-Smith's role at all. In fact, I would liken him more closely to, say, a Rui Hachimura in terms of the role and the way that he plays. He is on the offensive end, typically slotted as a 3 or a 4, though he does spend a lot of his time on defense defending 2s and 3s. I think he does an okay job defensively. Is he a great lockdown defender? No. Again, you are losing something there by losing Dorian Finney-Smith. But I do think, given the age, the upside that he's got, the shooting ability, he really does a nice job of limiting his shots to 3s and shots at the rim. A little bit of passing ability too, which the Grizzlies in their offense were able to unlock a bit over the course of the season. And I think Jake LaRavia has an offensive game that will mesh fairly well playing with Luka Doncic. I like what he can do, again, on the offensive glass. I like what he does getting in there, getting steals, ranked in the 87th percentile in steals relative to his position while he was with Sacramento, 75th percentile with Memphis. So he does a nice job anticipating. And I think he's a solid value signing for the Lakers with decent upside, given that he's still just 23 years old. But I also think it would be a bit of a mistake to look at him as a Dorian Finney-Smith replacement. I think he could be a better player than Dorian Finney-Smith on the offensive side of the ball, but certainly not the defender that Dorian Finney-Smith is. Certainly DFS helped transform the Lakers defense when he arrived in that trade for D'Angelo Russell. That's not the role that Jake LaRavia is going to be in. So now it's on the Lakers to do what they can to find more help, particularly defensively on the wing. And then, I mean, the biggest thing, finding somebody to play the center position for LA really does feel like it's Deandre Ayton or bust right now for the Lakers. But again, just day one of free agency. We'll see what they can do from here. But Lakers Nation, I'm really curious to know your thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section about the 2027 plan. Are you as worried about that as I am?
With the rumors surrounding Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James and his representation saying that his goal is to compete right now for a championship, there is speculation around who the team can add to make them better. As there are rumors around James being traded from the Lakers, Bill Simmons has an idea on who the team can acquire in an act of desperation. The player he would mention is Phoenix Suns guard Bradley Beal, who has been under scrutiny with his disappointing level of play and huge contract. However, Simmons on his self-titled show would say that Los Angeles is a team that could have interest in Beal from a desperation standpoint. I think the Lakers are in there from a desperation standpoint on getting some sort of person that makes them feel different than they were last year, Simmons said. I'm putting Sacramento in here because I think they're just in no man's land and they're somehow back to who they were for the entire 2010s. And they just have this weird team that doesn't make sense. And are they capable of anything? I had Phoenix because of this Beal situation, Simmons continued. What do? You can't buy them out? That would be idiotic. Do you hope he's going to be better? You can't trade him? Do you bury him? You be like, you know what? You're just not going to play basketball anymore. We're not going to play you. With the Lakers linked to many players in the offseason, Beal hasn't really been one of them due to his level of play and the contract, as said before. Even Jake Fisher of NBA Insider Notebook would say that the expectation is that Beal is part of the Suns and will try to rebound from many down seasons. I think there's really nothing to expect on the Bradley Beal front outside of Bradley Beal being a member of the Phoenix Suns and trying to have a bounce-back season, Fisher said. And you, fan, what do you think about Bradley Beal's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.